Hi guys, let's talk about the mitochondria structure and function. Alright, so to begin with, let's just describe what the mitochondria is. It is a rod-shaped structure that is found in both plant and animal cells. Okay, found in both. Both types of organisms, plants and animals, need mitochondria to do their job, to function properly. They have to have an adequate number of mitochondria. Now, these mitochondria have a double membrane. There's two layers of it, an outer and an inner membrane. And they are made of the same stuff that the regular cell membrane is made up of. They are made up of phospholipids and proteins, just like the cell membrane on the outside of the cell. Okay, just like it. Now let's talk a little bit specifically about the outer membrane. The outer membrane is very smooth and is composed of equal amounts of phospholipids and proteins. The outer membrane is freely permeable to nutrients, ions, which are atoms that have gained or lost an electron, and energy molecules, like ATP, which we're going to talk about a little bit more later, like ATP and ADP molecules. Okay, so these ATP and ADP, these are the functional unit of energy that our bodies use. This is like the currency of the cell. Okay, this is the type of energy that every single cell anywhere on the globe, this is the energy source that they use. We're going to talk more in depth about those in the next set of notes. Okay, let's talk about the inner membrane next. It's more complicated and more complex than the outer membrane. It is folded into numerous folds. Folded into a number of folds. So it's folded and folded and folded over and over and over again. And this forms something called the cristae. So folded into a number of folds known as the cristae. This folding helps increase the surface area inside the mitochondria. And this is where the glucose is broken down into an energy that is usable called ATP, which stands for adenosine. That's where the A comes from. That's where the T comes from. Phosphate. That's where the P comes from. ATP, which is a usable form of energy. Okay, because our bodies, while they need glucose, they can't just use it wherever to get energy. The cell must break it down into this ATP so that it can be used. It's like taking energy from an outlet and putting it into a rechargeable battery. You can take that rechargeable battery anywhere and use it in just about anything. Okay, whereas if I have something that needs to use energy from the outlet, it must have a specific type of plug. Okay, ATP is the energy currency of cells. It's like money to them. Okay, they use that to do cell processes, just like we use money to buy things that we need to survive, like food or clothing or shelter. Every time a cell uses energy, it is in the form of ATP. This ATP, adenosine triphosphate, is formed through the systematic breakdown of glucose. So there's a very specific way that it is broken down to make as much ATP as possible. We're going to talk about this more in our next set of notes, which will probably happen tomorrow. Okay, so let's move on to the intermembrane space. This is the space between the outer and inner membranes. Space between the outer and inner membrane of the mitochondria. It has the same composition. That means that it's made up of the same stuff as the cell's cytoplasm. Okay, so it's a liquid that has lots of nutrients and lots of enzymes that are used to break down that glucose molecule. All right, and let's move on to our last portion of the mitochondria, the matrix. The matrix of the mitochondria is made up of proteins and enzymes. These enzymes are important in the synthesis the making of ATP. So these enzymes, they each have a very specific job, okay? And their job is to break down that glucose, and each one of them is responsible for a specific step, okay? So these enzymes found in the matrix are really stinking important. So the function of the mitochondria is to produce energy for the cell to perform daily processes. All right, and here we have a diagram. It's the same diagram that is on the front of your paper. I'm not sure why there's two. And we're going to label it. Okay, so let's start with the outer membrane. That's this guy right here. It's the outermost membrane, that smooth one that we talked about. Then we have the inner membrane. All right, and it is folded and folded and folded to create the cristae. Now these folds are really stinking important. The way that I like to think of it is having a huge kitchen to cook Thanksgiving dinner. Okay, if I have more counter space, I can have more people in the kitchen working at one time to get dinner done quickly. If I have just one spot that one person can work, that Thanksgiving dinner is going to take a lot longer because you have to have one person peeling the potatoes and then chopping the potatoes and then putting the potatoes in water to cook. And then that same person is going to have to make the stuffing, and that same person is going to have to make the green bean casserole. And if you have a lot of kitchen space, a lot of counter space for someone to work, you can have a lot of people doing those things at the same time. So that's what the folds are for. They give more area for the enzymes to work. In this inner area, that is the matrix. Remember, that's where the enzymes are found. And this is the intermembrane space. Remember, that is the area that has basically the same composition as the cytoplasm. Now, I'm going to jump back to the front and label that diagram as well. If you guys have any questions at all, you can shoot me an email or ask me in class tomorrow.